research to date. I'm halfway through a part-time PhD program at Oxford University. And I'm going to outline my research question, my aims, objectives, methods, outcomes, and audience feedback, and some initial conclusions on my research to date. So my research question is liminal light, liminal space, and art-based investigation into liminality. I've been using audio, optical, and mobile methods to explore the concept of liminality, and I've found that mobility acts as a powerful method to help me see liminality with fresh eyes. I've also found that movement embodies my autoethnographic art practice fieldwork, and I'm hoping it will lead to environmental immersion and understanding. I'm finding the non-nationality of walking allows me to reflect on the shifts in mood, tenor, colour, or intensity of place and situations. My major aim is to investigate what ways can potential liminal phenomena be explored through art-based practice. Main objectives are to investigate how multisensory interpretations of liminal space can decontextualize experience, and to use these decontextualized experiences to develop artworks which hopefully create a psychophysical state of liminality in my audience. I'm also looking at the concept of heteropias, blurring the boundaries between the art and the everyday, and the relevance of liminality in daily experience. Heteropias concept is founded by the French philosopher Michel Foucault in 1967, where he counted that the hegemony is populated by countersites called heteropias, which act as, how can we say, destroying or disturbing the present power structures of the dominant culture and ruling elite. Here he stated the everyday is fractured, the past, present, future merged, and the normative is challenged. He claimed heteropias are vital to human imagination as they empower resistance to authoritarianism. They subvert from within the hegemony and switch between the concrete and fictitious, creating a portal to utopia. He saw them as being analogous with the concept of the mirror. As he stated, it makes its place I occupy the moment I look at myself in glass.
Here if they want. Oh, that's fine, they're coming.
Both utterly real, connected with the entire space surrounding it, and utterly unreal. I believe liminal states are threshold subsets of heteropias, where time and space is disrupted. Examples of heteropic spaces are spaces of marginalization and disturbance, such as cemeteries, brothels, ships, prisons, and asylums, and the people that inhabit these spaces. I'll just outline now a short definition of liminality to textualize my research. I'm looking at the idea of liminality coming from the Latin meaning threshold, limen. It was originally an anthropological term coined by the Belgian anthropologist Arnold van Giepen in 1909 in his seminal work Rite de Passage, where he studied African tribes and considered they had three distinct phases during their tribal rites of passage: the preliminal phase of their original identity state, a liminal phase where they switched and shifted into their new identity as a result of the rite of passage, and a post-liminal stage where that new identity had been assumed. Victor Turner, the British anthropologist, thinks liminality is far more all-pervasive and all-encompassing. He feels that it indicates transformations, both spatial, temporal, psychological, and cognitive. It is a fascinating phenomenon, being multifaceted and subjective in its facets of ambiguity, being very paradoxical, unknown, boundary crossing, affective, and shape-shifting. Victor Turner even asserted that liminal experiences were embedded, intrinsic, and essential to the mind, and even hardwired into the brain's anatomy. It is a disruptor of the hegemony, simultaneously damaging, productive, constructive, and deconstructive, a source of anguish, but also anticipation. I believe it is a creative practice agent and a realm of pure possibility. I feel now, in the time of COVID, it has a new relevancy, urgency, and agency, as we are constantly in waves of endless oscillation of uncertainty. And also its creative characteristics and originality, I believe, make it a perfect fit for exploring and developing creative practice. Methodology is visual autoethnography, which I'm using to reflect through my visual and autoethnographic notes on my individual experiences in liminal spaces, such as tunnels, flyovers, piers, underpasses, bridges, and defence systems. To record my embodied experiences in these spaces, I'm using different methods that I believe have liminal characteristics, such as networking, digital photography, sound and walking. My work is oscillatory, I hope, existing on the margins of the real and virtual, multimedia action inaction, control no control, distance and immersion, movement and stasis, and tradition innovation. A pivotal point in my research was reading the blog of the urban explorer and psychogeographer Bradley L. Garrett, that sound was the most affected senses, as liminality is a deeply embodied experiential phenomenon. Made me question, what does liminality sound like? With this in mind, I've made a series of field recordings and sound walks to test if I can lead to a state of liminality in my audience. Field recording is an audio recording outside the studio of organic and human-made sounds. A sound walk is a walk with a focus on listening to the environment, a term first used by the composer Armand Rapper in the 1970s, with the aim of re-engaging the oral senses and hearing with fresh ears. I've created a series of sound walks using binaural recording in liminal spaces. A binaural recording is a 360-degree surround sound audio experience. If you imagine you're deep in a forest and you hear the snap of a twig beneath your feet, bird songs above your head, voices ahead, and the trees all around you, that is binaural sound. To listen to the sound, to have this full experience, you would need to listen to it with regular headphones on a mobile or a PC. I found walking to be a very powerful tool in my art practice ethnographic research. I'm discovering that roaming dislocates, self-actualizes and relates my spatial experiences. My art walks are, as the ethnographer Pink says, the visceral and the visual. By walking, looking, listening, touching and thinking, I can make meaning of my spatial sphere. I'm finding walking is very multidisciplinary, situated and sensorial, and focuses on the work-a-day. It is a boundary crossing, performative and dialogic phenomena, performative in my stage peregrinations and action-based interventions, and dialogic in my autographic log, charting the impact of me being in these liminal spaces through multisensorial imagery and metaphor, and in the sound walks I conduct with my in Q&A sessions. Audience feedback has been very fascinating and diverse. I cited sound walks with artist teachers in the MA in Education programme at Oxford Brookes, with fellow PhD research students in the School of Art, and also to Women's Walking Festival and at a conference last week at Birkbeck School of Law in London. Major themes that have arisen are that participants found the sound walks very associative, heavily embedded in atmosphere, leading to shifts in consciousness, creating a trigger for memory, eliciting imagination and self-knowing. In conclusion, I would say the oscillation between the out there of the external physical liminal world and the inner here, the landscape of the mind, leads in the non-cognitive act of walking to philological awareness of being, self-knowing, reflecting and re-envisaging. And as Victor Turner says, it is an in-between space of endless possibilities and, I believe, huge potentialities. Thanks very much.